Before we get into today's video, if you're new, like the NBA, WNBA, high school, college, really like basketball in general, I really think that you would love this channel. So if you aren't already, feel free to like, subscribe, hit notification bell, be notified whenever I release a video. I upload whenever I can now. I don't have a set schedule, but it would mean a lot to me. Help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers. And again, just doing all those things would be a big help. Would mean a lot to me. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. Today, I am going to be giving you some of my thoughts on the upcoming prospects for the 2021 NBA draft. I know that the 2020 NBA draft has yet to happen, but I do think we need to look to the future for 2021. When will this draft be? I don't know actually, but it will be interesting to see when it happens. And the thing is, I believe that 2021 is going to be a special year for guys entering the league. I've talked about it before. Again, this class in 2021 was a lot better than the current class of 2020. And hopefully that's a metaphor for things to come in real life between 2021 being a lot better than 2020 has been as far as a year. But regardless, I'm just going to give you some thoughts. These aren't going to be a lot of in-depth breakdowns, but there's some of the guys to look out for 2021. I've made videos about a lot of these guys already, but I just kind of want to give you a snapshot of each thing that we do. But with that being said, let's get right into the first player, which I'm sure you already know. Hey, so future me, I'm editing this video now, and I realized that this video, I was going to be originally me talking about 10 prospects, but I got to a certain point and realized that if I made this video about 10 prospects, it would be way too long of a video. So I'm going to be breaking this down into 2 parts. I'm going to be doing 1 through 5 in this video. And then on Wednesday, you guys will be getting the 5 through 10. And then maybe we'll get some other guys outside of the top 10 that I'll be talking about in the videos. Just want to let you guys know that this is only going to be 5 players for this one because of how long this video is going to be. It's going to be at least like 13 minutes. But with that being said, enjoy the video. When it comes to Cade Cunningham, I believe he's a generational talent. He's somebody that, if I held the first pick in the last 5 drafts, only 1 draft I wouldn't take him first overall. And that's the 2018 draft, because that's because of Luka Doncic. But other than that, any other draft over the last 5 years, I would take him first overall. I would take him over Ben Simmons. I would take him over a Karl-Anthony Towns. I would take him over a Zion Williamson. I think he's that good. You just look at him, 6'7", 215 pounds, 7-foot wingspan, and he's a point guard. And mind you, I don't think he's done growing either. I think he'll probably be around 6'8", 230 pounds by the time his frame fills out. And when you also look at it, he's a really good athlete. I wouldn't say he's a great athlete. I think that there are definitely more explosive guards as far as athleticism goes in this draft, but he's a good athlete nonetheless. It's not like he isn't a good athlete. He is an elite playmaker that has a great feel for the game, has high IQ, can make every pass in the book, has great court vision. He has a bunch of things you just can't teach. He's a good shot creator as well. He does need to improve on his shooting volume. I don't think that he's a bad shooter or even a non-factor. I think he's a pretty average shooter, but he does need to improve on his volume. And I think over time, he will improve on his volume because he just seems to have a really good work ethic. Is a great leader, both by example and vocally. So it's something a franchise would want, and I really think that it will intrigue teams as far as his maturity and leadership goes. Also has great defensive potential. I think he can guard 1 through 3. He isn't great laterally, but I do think that his long arms will make up for his lack of lateral quickness at times. Has a high floor as a prospect due to his passing skills and motor, and his ceiling's through the roof as well. I think the high-end outcome for him is a guy like a Luka Doncic, James Harden kind of creator, a guy that puts up 25 plus points a game, 7 plus rebounds a game, 7 plus assists per game. He's easily the best player in this draft for me. I think he is in a tier of his own. I think whoever gets the first overall pick, it's going to be kind of obvious that they're going to pick him. The only way I see him taking this number 1 spot and just losing it is if he has a really bad year in college. And I mean he has to have like one of the most disappointing seasons of all time. I don't see him giving up this spot, and he's the number one guy in this draft for me for a reason. In my opinion, Jonathan Kuminga has the highest ceiling in the 2021 NBA draft. He's built like an NBA wing already, and he's only 18, and he's the youngest player that's going to be in that draft. Like, he just turned 18 like a week ago, I want to say. He has a really good shooting for him. He's an elite athlete that's a great slasher who can finish above and below the rim. I would say he's a solid shot creator. I think there's a lot more flashes than there is substance when it comes to that. And he's an underrated passer, in my opinion, as well. However, he does have awful shot selection. It's really bad. He doesn't use his physical tools to his advantage all the time. He should be able to bully defenders all the time. And there are times he's going to face teams like Montford Academy who have guys that can stand up to his physicality, but instead of, passing to an open teammate or trying to get a better look for someone else, he'll settle for a mid-range jumper that's contested in a difficult shot. And he does have all the physical tools to be a really good defender that's very versatile, that can defend almost every position. But the problem is he does have a lack of a defensive motor at times. I don't think it's for a lack of effort. I think it's more of an awareness thing than anything. But I do think that he's just so skilled. He's somebody that I know he's been called kind of a project player. And I do think to an extent he is a project. He still is rather raw, but I don't think it has a lot to do with his skills. I think it's not about adding skills to his game. It's about putting all the skills together. And I think if he puts all his skills together, he's going to be unstoppable. I think the sky's the limit with him. I think he's somebody, and again, I'm not saying he's going to be Giannis by any stretch of the imagination, but I think if he puts it all together in the highest possible outcome, and the best possible outcome for his career, is somebody that puts up Giannis kind of numbers, like 30, like 10 and 5, and plays great defense. I think he's going to be that kind of player. No, let me rephrase that. I don't think he's going to be that kind of player. I think it's possible he can be that kind of player. But if he doesn't, I still think he can be a really good player at the NBA level. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact of his mentality. He seems to have a great work ethic. He's somebody that's improved every year of high school. And he's somebody that has a great story as well. He's someone that moved from the Congo to America when he was 13. He had to leave his parents and his friends and his family. And while also becoming a great basketball player, he also had to adjust to the lifestyle of America and adjust to the culture. And, to be able to do that, which isn't easy, while also improving as a basketball player to the point where you're the number 2 player in the country or number 1 player in your junior class before you reclassify, that tells me a lot about your work ethic. And I think that, no matter what happens with Jonathan Kuminga, I think he's going to be a great pro. While Duke probably won't have a lottery pick this year, I think that, again, they're going to come back with Jalen Johnson next year, who I believe has a chance to be a top 3 pick. He has great size at 6'8", 215 pounds, can play both the power forward and the small forward spot. Great slasher, great court vision, great rebounder, efficient scorer. So he's a very safe prospect in my opinion, and I believe that he can be a really good point forward in the future. I think a team like the Bulls could use him greatly. Now, there's one thing about Jalen Johnson that holds him back. He's a bad shooter. And when I mean bad, I mean he doesn't really take a lot of them, and he doesn't make a lot of them. He's somebody that teams are just okay with leaving open. And that's the thing that's holding him back, really, from being better than Jonathan Kuminga. While Jonathan Kuminga has problems with, shot selection and decision-making, Jalen Johnson has more problems with his skills than Kuminga does. And that's why I don't have him ahead. But he's still really good, and the fact that he's number 3 on my list, despite the fact that he's not a good shooter, really tells you about how highly I regard his passing and his court vision and his rebounding and his defense and his slashing ability. And the thing about his shooting is, while he's not good, I don't think he has a bad form, so I think that's an encouraging sign. I think with more reps, he will become a better shooter. And if he works on his shooting, he can become a better shooter because he does have a solid shooting form. And, also has to work on defensive motor as well. as far as being more engaged on that side. I think once he kind of gets into college, I think he will fix the whole defensive thing because he has all the tools to be an elite defender. I think his highest outcome is a guy that maybe isn't the elite scorer. I think his ceiling as a scorer is like 22 or 23 points per game, but I think he'll average like 8 to 10 rebounds. I think he can average like 7+ assists. I think that's a high outcome for him. But I do think as far as a player, it's a guy like an Evan Turner, maybe not necessarily the same skills, but I do think as far as a guy that kind of goes around and averages like 10, 4, 4, 10, 5, 5, like numbers like that. I think that's kind of the floor we're looking at. But I think his ceiling is a very much a player that fits what basketball is now, and that's being positionless. He has size to play multiple positions and has skills to play multiple positions as well. Brandon Boston Jr. is probably, I would say, the most popular player among draft Twitter for this upcoming draft. I think it's close between him and Cade, but I definitely think Brandon Boston Jr. has a kind of a cult following among those draft Twitter people that are really cool. 6'6", 175 pounds, long arms, great 3-level scorer. He has deep shooting range. He's more than comfortable pulling up from NBA range. You'll see it multiple times again playing at Sierra Canyon. The thing I like about him the most, though, despite his thin frame, he is an aggressive player. He's not afraid of contact. He will attack. This is something that I find very similar to what Brandon Ingram was, where, they are weak physically as far as compared to other people. I mean, compared to, like, you and me, more than likely, he stands out physically because he's just probably bigger than us. But compared to other athletes that are on his level, he is a bit thin and he is a bit weak. But like Ingram, I don't think he lets that get in the way of attacking the rim, which is something that's encouraging. He will need to add weight, though. He really will need to add weight because, eventually the athletes are going to catch up to him. And, the stronger your opponents are, the stronger you need to be. You got to get the idea about that. He has long arms as well, plays well in the passing lanes, is a really good rebounder for his position. I think he has great defensive potential as well as he fills his frame out. And as he improves his awareness at Kentucky, must improve his shot selection. I think that's the biggest thing that you could hold against him. He can hit almost every shot in the book. He's a really great scorer. But at the same time, I think while you can hit every shot, doesn't mean you should take every shot. And I think that's something he will need to improve on. I think playing Kentucky could help that, playing alongside other talented players, which means you're not going to be able to have the ball in your hand all the time. I think it will help him improve his shot selection, playing in a more team-oriented system. I think high-end, we're looking at a guy, and I'm not saying he will be Paul George or he's even a similar player to a Paul George, but I do think a player that is a really good scorer, is a really good defender as well. And I think with Brandon Boston Jr., his ceiling is a really low-end number 1 on a contender, but a really high-end number 2 on a contender. I think he's somebody that, under the right circumstances, he could be the best player on a contender. I don't think necessarily his ceiling is a player that could be the best player on a contender regardless of situation. But at the same time, I do think players that could be the best player on contenders, regardless of players who can be, the best player in a contender with the right situation and the right coaching, are naturally this high-end number 2s. That's just my belief on it. You can call me stupid if you want, but I think that's his ceiling. His floor, to me, is a guy kind of puts up numbers, but doesn't necessarily have an impact. I think he's going to be like that 15, 20 point per game scorer that is always on those teams that are high-end in the lottery. I think that's kind of what the floor is, but the ceiling, again, a high-end number 2, low-end number 1 kind of player. And to end part 1 of this video with the number 5 prospect, in my opinion, for the 2021 NBA draft, it is Jalen Green. Of course, he made a lot of waves when he decided to go to the G League, which is really great. I think it's going to open up an alleyway for other athletes. And, he's somebody that I think it may be shocking to see him as low as number 5. When you see people have him as high as 2, 3, some people even have him at number 1. But to talk about him as a player, he's incredible. He's an elite athlete, and he's just more than just a guy that jumps high. He has great body control. He can finish at angles that are just insane. He has the best body control as far as athleticism goes among all of these athletes in the draft. He is a great 3-level scorer. Now, the thing is, I wouldn't say he's a bad shooter, but I wouldn't say he's a good shooter yet. You know, he's somebody that is still working on it, but it's not like it's bad. I do think he needs to improve his perimeter efficiency at times, but I do think he has improved on his shooting ability and his passing ability every year of high school. And that's encouraging. You know, if you're improving every year, that means that you have a great work ethic. And I believe he has a great work ethic. I think he's somebody that wants to be a great all-around player. He's talked about that multiple times in interviews and things like that. And the things he needs to improve on, I think, are very fixable. You know, I think as far as skills go, shot selection and defensive motor, those are things that need to improve. I think he can improve on those, as a lot of young shooting guards do. I do think that he does need to add weight to his frame. He's around 180 pounds right now. I think he'll need to be around 190, 195 pounds by the time, you know, the draft comes around. I think he will. I think the G League has a very good program in place for him. I think that they're going to help him a lot improve physically. I think they're going to help him improve mentally. I think they're going to help him improve his skills. I think it's going to help him so much. This is the best possible thing to happen to him. And I think his highest outcome as a player is somebody that puts up 25 plus points per game, 5 to 6 rebounds, and maybe at the most 6 assists. I think he's going to be a solid passer. I don't think he's ever going to be somebody that puts up high assist numbers. Like, again, 6 is probably the highest, I would say. I think more realistically 4 or 5. But regardless, I think this is going to be a high-level scorer. That's his ceiling. Like BJ Boston, I think his ceiling is a high-end number 2, low-end number 1. That is the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. It means a lot to you. I know this is a longer video. I do want to make my videos a bit longer now. Maybe not this long, because this video is probably going to be almost around 20 minutes based off where I am now and based off where I'm looking at this when I'm editing this video. But I still want videos to be around 10 to like 15 minutes moving forward. I know for a little while we had some videos that were around less than 10 minutes long for the most part, but I want to get back to where I was doing videos that are 10 to 15 minutes long. But let me know what you think about these 5 guys that I talked about. Part 2 will be coming out of this video where I talk about my 6 to 10 prospects. And then maybe I'll do a video talking about guys outside my top 10. It should be fun. Expect more videos in the future. I'm going to be trying to do a new schedule where I upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make sure that you like, subscribe, do all those things. Help me reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Make sure you go subscribe to my friends. Link to their channel descriptions in the future. If you like my basketball content, I think you'll like their basketball content. With that being said, have a nice day. If you made it through this point in the video, thank you so much. It means so much to me, guys. You guys don't understand. But again, thank you. Like and subscribe if you're new. Feel free to leave feedback in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.